Alright guys, so we're back out here on the Hovsco HovGtrs. This is their only moped style bike as far as I know right now in their entire lineup. Most of their other stuff is just kind of regular bikes, but this is their only moped style one right now. And I did a full review video on this bike and I was really happy with it. I think it's a good bike for the price, around $1,000. But as you guys can see, I wanted to just do a little bit of an update video and a little bit of off-roading and everything, show you guys what this thing is capable of. Just some light trails, nothing too crazy, but you know, it's always fun to get a nice moped style e-bike out here with full suspension, of course. You know, riding it off-road. You got the 20x4-inch knobby fat tires on here, so pretty good for some light off-road stuff. But overall, I've been pretty happy with the GTRS. I've made a full review video on this thing. Like I said, you know, it's got a good amount of power. You can do some wheelies there. It's kind of hard to ride wheelies on this thing because the throttle it kind of lags behind just a second. It's not the worst that I've ever felt on an e-bike, but it does just kind of lag a little bit behind. But yeah, we're just over here taking it on some nice and easy off-road trails out here in the forest. And it's a lot of fun to take on these kind of pre-paved trails like this. Of course, you're not going to be going super crazy off-road. This is not a dirt bike, and that rear suspension isn't the softest, as I said in my review on this bike, but this will definitely get you off-road, and it's way more comfortable than a hardtail bike. And that rear suspension does have a little bit of give to it, but if you're a heavier rider than I am, I'm about 150 pounds, you're gonna get a little bit more action out of that rear spring. But this is a super fun bike to just kind of rip around on these trails here. That suspension helps you absorb all these bumps and everything. There's a rough patch coming up over here, and here we go. Did a little jump there. But it's a pretty stable feeling bike. The front end is just a little bit twitchy because you're pretty far over that front wheel, so you don't have the best geometry here. But yeah, man, we're just ripping on this. Brakes are really, really good on here too. There are these Core Ride hydraulic brakes, and they're pretty good. I talked a little bit in my written review how the levers sort of sink almost all the way down to the grips, and then I sort of feel this stop, like especially on this one, I'm kind of hitting the stop on the brake here, and I tried to bleed them a little bit, but it didn't really do anything. So I think I'm gonna just replace the fluid in these brakes, but they're good hydraulic Core Ride brakes, and they get you to a stop really nice. It's just the feel could be a little bit better. They're still miles ahead of cable brakes as far as feel and consistency and stuff go. Well, let's take this thing down this gigantic hill. This is a really bumpy, ungraded field down here. Oh man, oh, that's rough. Let's take it up this hill. Gotta help it up a little bit by pedaling, but I lifted the front off the ground right there. It's got good enough power to have fun. This is a 1500 watt peak rear hub motor on this bike paired to a 48 volts, 15.6 amp hour battery. So you get pretty good battery life out of this thing, pretty good battery life and power, about average. Most e-bikes nowadays are 48 volts. Take it down here. And there's a lot of tree roots on this trail here, so you can't go too fast. Suspension can't take that, but you know, pretty average as far as power goes on this thing. 48 volts, 15 amp hours. Most bikes around this price point are going to be 48 volts. Maybe a select few will be 52 volts, which is going to get you a little bit more power. But the thing about this is it's adequate. It's adequate to do a bunch of different things. Taking it around town, doing some light off-roading, riding this thing through the neighborhood. It sort of does it all. And it's relatively practical too, because you have this kind of half rear rack on the back here. You could probably strap a little bag to this, and there are these holes right here, so you can probably fit a rack that goes out even further on here. But there is that little bit of customizability on this thing. You also have holes drilled into the front forks here so that you can throw a basket on the front there. I don't know if they sell a basket specifically for this, but you know, you can always retrofit stuff like that to bikes anyways. It is a little bit bumpy, especially going over these big tree roots and stuff. The front absorbs the bumps and everything. It's got a pretty fast rebound on this too. If I was taking this thing off-road a lot, and if you want to take this thing off-road a lot, if you have this or if you're thinking about getting it, I would definitely get something like a D&M Air Shock, and that is going to be worlds better than this suspension that's on this thing right now. But again, not bad. And look, we'll even go up this hill right here. Yeah, that seat does help cushion those bumps out a little bit too. This is a really, really nice moped seat on this bike. It's got that kind of diamond stitching on here. It feels pretty high quality actually, and it helps kind of even those bumps out that the suspension doesn't quite get. Yeah, just riding this thing out here on a beautiful day like this, ton of fun. Well, we found its limit right there. Oh no, my chain fell off. Even when you're falling off, it's still a lot of fun on this bike. Ooh, took that turn a little bit too slow and lost my balance there. Hovering at about 22, 23 miles an hour on here, just kind of cruising down this strip of grass. And it feels really good. It feels pretty stable. So if this is going to be your first e-bike, you know, this is a really good, easily approachable bike that you can kind of use to do anything. Like I said, you can take this off-road, you can take this on the road on the bike paths, you can pedal it if you want, if you're a shorter rider with smaller legs. But you know, you can sort of do everything and kind of grow and get some experience on e-bikes and everything. It is a little bit powerful, so you got to be careful if you're sitting far back because you might wheelie on accident, which is something that you don't usually hear about hub motor e-bikes because typically they don't have a whole lot of power, so you know, you're not going to really be wheeling on this. And most e-bikes aren't going to be able to do a wheelie like that, especially on accident. But this one just does because you're sitting so far back, and this is a really compact frame on this bike. But it gets it done, man. It is a lot of fun to ride this thing around. So as far as range and everything on this bike, it was about average from my testing. You know, I got about 24, 25 miles worth of range on this in my test, I believe. So pretty average for a 15.6 amp hour battery like that. Obviously your range is going to be a lot worse when you're off-roading on this because it does take a lot more power from the battery to be driving off-road and everything like this, like I am right now. After about 30 miles on this, there's no real like crazy squeaks and rattles or anything. I think the front brake, it did come a little bit bent out of the front, so it kind of does rub sometimes. As far as the frame and everything, just getting it back on the road here, no weird sounds, no weird rattles really. There's a lot of tire noise since these are knobby tires. A lot of times I've had cheaper e-bikes and they have creaks and rattles and stuff, but this one, I don't really get that, you know, it's just kind of a smooth, comfortable ride. This is an entry-level bike. This does feel like an entry-level chassis. It's not as refined as a lot of other bikes are, but you know, this is an entry-level bike, so you shouldn't expect to have something that's the price, that's 2-3 times the price of this. You shouldn't have that you shouldn't expect to have that level of quality when you're not paying that much money. That you're getting a lot of bike for the price with this one, and the grips on here are really comfortable. Everything just feels really well laid out. I like this display on here. This display is basic. I think it is a really good display, and I just like the simplicity of how everything is laid out. I also really like the riding position on this bike. I'm sitting a little bit more upright. My hands are pretty low on here because of these grips, just the way that I have this set up right now. But it feels pretty good riding it around on smoother trails like this. I would say that this bike is definitely a little bit more at home on the road and on smoother trails. But you know, you just saw that I was doing a bunch of off-roading on the grass and everything, and it was plenty fine. So let's talk a little bit about cheaper e-bikes, more entry-level, affordable e-bikes like this, because if you're shopping for an e-bike, you've probably been on Amazon, you've probably seen other reviews like mine about bikes like this that are entry-level or affordable. And the thing is, with all these bikes, all these weird name, no-name bikes, not this one specifically, Hovsco's a pretty big brand, but there's a lot of other brands out there that are kind of these no-name, smaller Chinese companies that, you know, you're basically buying it directly from the manufacturer, and there's just so much competition for these smaller entry-level bikes like this that you're kind of spoiled for choice, and it can be hard to sort of sort through all the different options that you have as far as entry-level bikes. And Hovsco, like I said, is a pretty big brand. They're sort of an established brand and everything. They're gonna have good support. They're gonna be able to get you spare parts and stuff like that. But is it worth it buying an entry-level budget bike like this, or should you just go straight to the top and buy something that's like $3 grand? Well, honestly, it really depends on your budget. Look, if you got $3 grand to spend on an e-bike, you got a lot of options. A wired bike, something like that, and you're gonna be in something that's way faster, that's a good quality bike, that's well built and everything. You're not gonna have to worry about buying an entry-level bike like this one. But you might notice that I review a ton of these entry-level bikes on this channel, and that's because I think that it's awesome that these manufacturers are making these things so affordable for people and so attainable that, you know, average people can get out on an e-bike and enjoy riding e-bikes around. And a lot of people use these things for actual transportation. Personally, I just ride these for fun. But if I had, like, if I worked closer to my house, I'd probably be riding this thing all the time on days like this in the summer when it's nice out. If I lived closer to the grocery store, I could definitely hold a couple bags of groceries on this thing and save gas and not have to take my car out and just use an e-bike. So the fact that you can get a good e-bike for, you know, $700 to $1,000 and have it be relatively affordable is a really good thing. Now, every e-bike that I've tested, every entry-level sort of cheap e-bike like this one that I've put miles on, has held up just fine. You know, these entry-level bikes, this is how I got started in riding e-bikes too. I bought a cheap, you know, $500-600 e-bike, and then I rode the heck out of that thing. I put well over 1,000 miles on it, and it got me addicted to riding these e-bikes, and then I started a YouTube channel. But you know, these affordable entry-level bikes are awesome, and in my experience, in all the dozens that I've tested, they've all been really good quality as far as build and everything goes. Sure, they might not be the most refined, they might not have the quietest hub motor, they might not have the most powerful brakes, you know, the brakes might squeak a little bit and stuff, but I've had that issue on more expensive bikes too. I've had issues where brakes aren't aligned out of the box on expensive bikes, and so just having an accessible bike like this, you can get on something now, maybe even, you know, upgrade it a little bit if you want to, but you can get on this now, save up more money, and then sell this and buy something that's more expensive, more refined, and maybe even faster and everything. But this is plenty quick. It gets up to about 28-29 miles per hour on throttle only. You know, these entry-level bikes are great just to get your feet wet and dip your toe into the world of e-bikes. And trust me, once you get on one of these things, you're gonna get addicted like I did, and then you're gonna spend all your money on e-bikes like I have. So it's a lot of fun to ride these entry-level e-bikes, and the Hovsco HovGtrs is a great option for an entry-level e-bike. If you guys want more information, I did do a full review on this bike on the channel, and I will link that. And if you guys do want to pick this bike up, I will leave a link in the description with a discount code so you guys can get the best price on the Hovsco HovGtrs. If you're looking for an entry-level e-bike from a big brand company and you want a moped style bike like this that can go off-road and on-road and do just about everything, then the GTRS may be worth a look from you. So that's all for today, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Ride safe out there.